Well, hello traders. Welcome to the Market Roundup. Joe with you here on Tuesday, the 11th of June. Let's jump right into it. I've got my 2 cents. I've got some meaningful news of the day, some technical analysis, and let's go out and share some trades with the community.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional stock and option traders. Maverick Trading is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
Jumping over to the market analysis, you can say we were pretty much on the way to a flat day. Maybe even a little bit of weakness. Let's jump into the daily news here. Rather weak day in the markets, bailed out by a surge in Apple. And I'll refer to this as the AI craze continues. Corey made mention of yesterday as Apple has their little conference. He jumped out and said that they were going to implement ChatGPT in their new operating system. And as you can see, it came out and hit like gangbusters, adding $200 billion of market cap into these markets. And so, yes, when you put that much money into these markets, they are definitely going to move higher. Outside of Apple, the markets were flat at best. Now, we are moving into an FOMC announcement. We do have a CPI number at the same time, which is rare, but it happens. The Fed is already looking a little bit more to the hawkish side, not happy of where the inflation is right now. They want to be at that 2%. So I think that CPI could be a pretty big factor if it's in line or a little higher. And then obviously what the Fed does and how they project. So how do we finish overall? Pretty bearish. I mean, 0.31 on the Dow, 2.27 and 0.88 on the Qs. The Russells down 1.5 or 1.25%. Oil and gold just kind of meandering along. The advanced decline line is one that can actually paint this picture for us. 55% of stocks declining and 41% advancing, considering that we had a bullish finish on the SPY and on the Qs themselves. The above below the 50 MA is 50-50. I looked at this, it was 49.6 and it was 50.4. So we'll round that up down to 50-50. So let's just jump straight into it. What I saw here is a beautiful chart. And regardless of what caused this last little move, to understand that the S&P is impacted by Apple. Apple is large enough. In fact, I think it is an SPY or a S&P 500 component. It will have a massive impact on a lot of things. And it'll also, as you've heard the term, all raising tides raise all boats. Now you'll see when we get to the heat map, it's not very specific, but what it could have done is kept things from falling. Little sympathy moves here and there. In fact, one of the picks that I have for day is a sympathy move in Microsoft. But I just love this chart right here. This is an ascending triangle pattern. It is a very sturdy bullish pattern. It's one of my favorites, especially if you go back just a little bit here, guys. I'll get a circle there. You get a bull crossover on the 2050 MA. So this is the SPY, and the Qs are very similar. They broke out into their new highs about a week ago, and they're just kind of sustaining sideways. We are going into a pretty big FOMC movement or announcement tomorrow. We can expect volatility tomorrow. That is for sure. So let me move on to our Qs. This is the NASDAQ, and as you can see, yep, beautiful breakout. Very similar to what the SPY did. A little bit more because it's a little bit more weighted with Apple. So a good move. You can see here the volume, not very large, not very big, but hey, it's a lack of selling. A couple other things that we can think about when you see a move like today's is let's take a look at the sentiment. Let's take a look at the focus. And as I continue to babble, folks, let's also take a look at the heat map. So if I was to eliminate that Apple right here of 7.26% or $200 billion, this is not a very good day. Look at that. Overall, utilities didn't do very well. Financials are struggling. In fact, folks, I'm starting to see a lot of those financials. If you want to take a look at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, they're starting to slip. So keep an eye on those. Healthcare, which has been in a pretty good bounce. I've been pretty bearish on that, but it's had a pretty good bounce over the last week or so. Even the software stuff, lots of browns, lots of reds. The only one that really stands out is Apple. So I'm just going to chalk this up to basically a sideways day to maybe slightly bearish with a super happy Apple. That's about it. So I'm not going to look too deep into it. Let's get into our outlook. Now, the overall chart has been bullish. We've been a +3 for a while, +1, +2. I moved it to +2 because we have kind of a surge or a breakout above the ascending triangle pattern. I'm just charting what's in front of me. Whatever the cause is, doesn't matter. However, it is really cool to watch sentiment. I know that we talked on Friday about the bearish sector staying bearish and the bullish one staying bullish. And yeah, it is still doing that. I think today might have kept some of those from continuing to fall. But weakness is still weakness and bullishness is still bullishness. What do I mean by that? Well, let's just take a look at some of these trades. I got on the bull side, we got Meta, Microsoft, and Google. Say, Joe, tell me something I don't know. But take a look at those charts. I got one of them here we're going to look at here. But they are in the communication sector, tech sector. They are just doing really well, and they have been for a long, long time. And it's crazy because they have just pulled back a little bit, but then they turn right around and run. PayPal is one that I thought was funny, or not funny, I should say. That was pretty interesting to me as it is kind of establishing a wider range. But on the bear side, there's a lot of weakness out there. We talked about Spirit Airlines on Friday. I still love that trade. In fact, it looks nice today. But American Airlines, you've got energy in there, LNG. Tesla looks like it's slipping a little bit. I'm going to share that one because it's kind of fun. But energy, VLO, Disney. And then, of course, your materials guys, Caterpillar, and industrial stuff, right, and Mosaic. Lots of weakness spread across some of those weaker sectors, all tied to the Dow, which if you take a look at the Dow, it pretty much just finished up a nice bear rally. It looks like it's going to roll over as the S&P and the NASDAQ themselves look like ascending triangles and breaking out into new highs. So let's just kind of follow what's in front of us. Let's jump into our first bull. I thought Microsoft was pretty cool because it is approaching a resistance level. It does have a very similar ascending triangle pattern. I believe this was on our watch list a couple of weeks ago. I did like the bull pullback on it. It still looks great. It's been great ever since. But now, if you guys had missed this, if you're looking for a secondary entry point, we have an ascending triangle breakout, which could happen over the next couple of days. I like it. It's in the right sector. It's sympathy of Apple. If Apple's got ChatGPT in their operating system, I'm pretty sure Microsoft's working on something for themselves as well. So looks strong. That was my 2 cents on who cares what I think about Microsoft. I should just be following the chart. However, that's kind of why it popped up on my radar. Let's move over to the sideways trade. I was just kind of looking for a sideways trade, and I came across PayPal. I thought it was pretty interesting because it does move, and it's got some pretty good range to it. But let me box this in about 62 to 68. You want to go a little wider. You can throw stuff out like this as it gaps up and comes back down. Here's something that slipped a little bit of a slip, but it came back. But it seems to meander between it's just above its 20 and then bounce off its 50 here, a little bit of a crossover. But you can see the flat line going on in the 20 and the 50. It's a range bound stock. It's pretty wide, but you Bollinger Band guys might like to see it. Use it as maybe a targeted butterfly to the downside or maybe to the upside or something just kind of sideways with a condor. But there are range bounding stocks that don't seem to go anywhere. That being said, there are also stocks that are super weak. Now, this is Tesla, being a very followed and popular stock. It has been for a few years now. I mean, Tesla goes right along with Apple, doesn't it? But it just seems to be falling out of favor. I love the descending triangle pattern. It doesn't mean that it's going to fall and break apart. It's a very similar pattern to the other bears that I have up and some of the underperforming stocks across all sectors. So it's not everything is participating. It's just one or two big stocks. Now, overall, I've been around the markets quite a bit, and I refer to this as the FOMO, right? We know the fear of missing out, and we also know what's hot, and we also know what sentiment follows. So when you get Apple, which is already the most trendy, everybody knows Apple, everybody has an Apple, everybody wants their phones, everybody wants their computers, Apple. And then you've got this new hot topic of AI. ChatGPT is probably, besides NVIDIA, the most touted, meaning it's all over the place. I've got an account with them right now. I'm sure everybody's used it. They know what it is. So when Apple has their announcement, which usually it's another phone that's going to be another $1,000 more, and they add this ChatGPT affiliate into their operating system, it's a perfect storm. So outside of the Apple today, everything remains flat, sets at new highs. Markets are just kind of chugging along. The Dow remains weak, led by energy, right? It's confirming that bear rally. A lot of stuff like materials is not participating. Expect volatility tomorrow, guys. This is the CPI and the FOMC statement at the same time, but don't succumb to head fakes. That Apple move today is a great example. It's one of these things that you don't want to jump on and try to short or even try to chase. It's just the things happen. but we need to focus on support and resistance levels overall. I'm going to be focusing more on the performance of the individual sectors. If anything changes in these leading sectors, telecommunications, technology, if any of these things roll over and fall apart, we got a bigger issue. But if everything kind of continues honky-dory, energy stays weak, and these continue higher, then I don't expect any change. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on individual sectors more so than the overall markets. As always, check potential trades for earnings. There's one or two out there. I think the markets have enough in front of them. Just be aware of it if that's something that you want to avoid. That's a good way to check and make sure you don't jump into it. All right, folks. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.